There we go. All right. Let's get started. Perfect. So, Abdi. All right. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Yeah, Abdi, I just think you're muted. I do see you though.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah, I can now.
Perfect. Patricia.
Here.
Emma.
Here.
Trevor. All right. Trevor. Okay. Going to. Put him down. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble finding. There we go. Perfect. Noah.
Here.
Peter. Oh, Peter has a he has a proxy today, right?
Yes, it's Crystal.
All right. Jenna.
Here.
Crystal.
Here.
Bree.
Here.
Elias.
Here.
Willie.
Here.
And I'm here. Class of 2021, Jasmine.
Here.
Okay. Class of 2022, Natalie.
Here.
Class of 2023, Lucas.
Here.
Andy.
Here.
Olivia.
Here.
Kyrie. My bad. All right. Class of 2024, Kristen.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
India. No India. All right. Payne.
Here.
And Emily.
Here.
Okay, Kyria is here. Wonderful. Is anyone else missing from this? An active senator that is missing from the attendance?
I am.
Okay, perfect. What class are you in?
I'm in 2022. Peyton
Okay,
Livingston.
perfect. I will put you in there right now. Perfect. And who else said? Okay, put your days. Suzanne. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. What year are you in?
2022.
2022. All right. Perfect. Wonderful. All right. That is all for attendance.
Okay, moving on. Is there an approval to approve last week's minutes? Well, 2 weeks ago minutes. Sorry, that was kind of confusing.
Motion to approve 2 weeks ago's minutes.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. There is no guest speaker for today. Is there any constituent comments? Let me just scroll through the screen. Okay. Transitioning to cabinet reports, chiefs of staff.
Hey everyone, I just want to begin my report by saying a big thank you. I'm sure you've seen the news, but this election is projected to have, I think, the highest turnout rate since 1904. So that is an amazing accomplishment. I'm gonna knock on my table here. That's what we do when we voice approval. Yeah, that's really great news. Thank you to everyone who voted and or organized, whichever candidate you supported. This is a huge turnout, and as the numbers actually come in, this is going to be really rewarding. So thank you to you guys. Going off of that, discussing elections, next semester, the spring, is home to presidential elections, followed by cabinet nomination and confirmations, followed by Senate elections. That being said, that usually takes anywhere from like around Valentine's Day to like mid-April. And we have such a long period because we want to try and give everyone a chance to get in office. So if you run for president and you're not successful, you have a chance to apply for cabinet. If you're not successful, you have a chance to run for Senate. And if you're not successful, you have a chance to be an ex officio. That being said, because we're going to be remote for the first part of the spring semester, and also just because we're dealing with a condensed time frame in general, the cabinet right now is looking at reforming that schedule just for this semester to try and give people who are remote and people who are in person roughly as equal of a playing field as possible. So I will be working with Bree and Trevor of the Communications and Press and Rules Committee, also with the Secretary of Student Voting where necessary to try and redevelop this new plan. Can I get a show of hands if you are not in either of those committees and you're interested in doing this? That would be an awesome time to raise your hand. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna take a screenshot of this just for my purpose. Keep those hands up. Awesome, okay. Now we're gonna do that all again because in the spring, after we have this plan developed, and I hope to have it finalized by like the holiday season, Trevor and I are going to be working on some more permanent constitutional reforms that will outlast this election season. So show of hands, if you are not in rules, who I think will obviously be involved in this, but you really have something that you'd like to bring forward to a potential constitutional revision, hands up.
Can you say that again, Emma? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries at all. If you are at all interested in looking over the Constitution and trying to find some reforms that would make it more modern, anything that you think would aid a new member of ASG, that's all up for grabs, I think, at this session. So that will be a spring semester commitment, but if you want to express some interest, now is a great time to do so. You can also direct message me, or rather email me with that address. All right, moving on. Last thing on my report, a lot of you are new and quite a few new senators emailed Bree with some questions that they have about being a senator. So I put those together in a Q&A document called How to Senate. All of you guys should have access to that on Google Docs, and I did the best to answer your questions. Good question, Kristen. Yes, I got everyone on the screenshot, but thank you though. Good point. was I saying? Yes, Senate questions. If your question was not answered, if you have a new question, again, feel free to email me. There's no such thing as a bad question. You can also just type your question on the document and I'll do my best to help you out with that. Are there any questions that I can answer right now?
Okay, if there's no questions for Emma. Attorney General is not here, so we're gonna move to Director of Finance.
Hey everyone, it's been a long 2 weeks. So just so everyone knows, the budget hearings for the clubs have been finished. We have finally gotten concluded that process, and now clubs have access to their funding starting after, I believe that Senate has to vote on it, if I remember correctly. Matt might want to double check me on this. If we have to vote, yeah, we have to vote on it. Okay, cool. So we have to vote on it. So I'm going to tell you like kind of what happened, and then I can also send the forms and figures out in an email. So the club budgets, we had $139,850, or 36.49% of the budget. So that's how much was given to clubs directly. The general budget is $124,183. That's like for the one-time events such as the cultural events. The surplus will be $30,000, and that's like long-term items that will be used in the club for the time being. The speaker fund will be $20,000. The executive fund will be $7,000. The senior class will receive $7,500 for their ceremonies or whatnot. The bookkeeper, so Stacy, gets paid through ASG, and that's $15,000. And then this is we have MEC. GAP and ASG usually provide a lot of the funding for MEC, which is the Major Events Committee. And this year we gave 5% more than we normally would, so we gave them $6,200 for the spring semester. And then this is the most up in the air part. This isn't decided quite yet, but right now the loop is tentative for the spring. It didn't run this fall, obviously, but it's tentative for the spring at $1,700, so $17,500, excuse me. So that's tentative, and if it doesn't happen, that money will get redistributed across the general and surplus fund. I'm not really sure what the ratio is, but it'll just kind of be like a fund that we can have access to if one of the funds starts dwindling a little bit more than what is expected. And that brings our total to what was funded to ASG as $383,233.74, excuse me. So for all those numbers to get approved, I believe that Senate has to vote on it, and Matt gave me the thumbs up a couple minutes ago. So take
Motion to approve the fall 2020, spring 2021 ASG budgets for both the surplus, general, and speaker fund.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes.
Wonderful. So that's all I have in regards to my report. Clubs have access to their money starting today, and they can put finance requests for this coming Monday, and that will be the last time we have finance requests for the semester. And then again, we'll start up hot and heavy in the spring when we're back on campus, or perhaps 2 weeks before. It depends what the committee and I decide, as well as what we discuss with cabinet. But thank you, everyone, for approving the budget. That takes a large stress off my shoulders.
Okay, moving on to organizational development.
All right, so I would like to start off by saying, once again, thank you guys. The voting went really well. You know, that was really nice to see. And so over this past, I guess, 2 weeks, I built a new template for the General Assembly agendas. and I'm going to be setting up to where the presidents from each Senate, like from each class of senators, can throw all their stuff in there. It's really streamlined. Everything is like it just works well. But another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working with Matt, and I think we can actually embed Google Forms into this doc. So so whenever there is a new motion, we can just grab that, toss it in there, and everyone will be able to go to the actual agenda and make their vote. And so that will help a lot, because things like the vote we just had, we're going to want to be able to see how everyone voted, see the results of it and everything. So wasn't quite ready this week. We're still trying to figure everything out, but by next week it will be. So just be expecting that. And another thing for attendance, the screen I have, it only shows 9 people at a time. So if you are here, make sure you unmute your mic, say I'm here. And otherwise, unfortunately, I'm going to have to mark you as absent because I just won't know. But yeah, everything is, yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, moving on to co-directors of student affairs.
I'll go first. So first thing on my report is the camera committee. So I sit on that, and I think Bennett, yeah, me and Bennett. So we had our first meeting, and they talked about the cameras. So there's one on Baldwin. So they're at every door that a student has access to enter in. So they're in Baldwin, they're in Ravine, and there's one on the loading dock in physical plant. So they just talked about the advantages of the cameras, how they've had one success story. People were like stealing packages from the loading dock, and so that's why they put it there. But a driver actually backed up into another one of the physical plant cars, and they actually caught him with the cameras. So that was something good. We talked about the confidentiality agreement that the public safety officers need to sign regarding the cameras, and talked about some of the benefits, such as they can remotely, so if you're locked out of, like say you're locked out of Baldwin, you don't have your key card, they can look at you through the cameras and they can remotely let you in. So they can like key you in from the cameras instead of you waiting outside for X amount of time. Second, if you guys have any questions, you can let me know after this, or you can email me, whichever. So we have 3 new senators, Bridget, Peyton, and Suzanne so far. Their committee assignments: Bridget, you're going to be communications and press. Peyton, you're going to be the Office of State Sustainability, which is with Willie. And Suzanne, you're also going to be communications and press, and that is with Bree. And so MEC, MEC this weekend is having Fall Fest, and as I think Noah mentioned it, MEC is made up of GAP and ASD, and so some of the events need volunteers, and you all do still need volunteer hours to continue to be senators. So we need 6 volunteers. So there's events on Friday and Saturday. There's a sign-up sheet. You can reach out to me or Bree if you guys are interested in that. That's all for me.
Crystal, will you be speaking on anything of student affairs?
The only thing that I've received a concern about is the gender neutral restrooms, and that's specifically in Dome, that the stalls are in horrible conditions. So I'm trying to see if I can look into that. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Is there any questions for student affairs? Willie, did you have a question?
You said Doan, right? If so, which dome? Because we have two of them.
I think it's the one in the campus center. I'm not sure. It was mentioned in a DEI meeting with DIC meeting with Ages. So I still need to contact that person back just so that I know where specifically it's located.
Okay, moving on to community relations.
Hi. Sorry, I just had to get my stuff together. So this week, the first thing that I want to kind of talk about is yesterday with the truck. As community relations director, I think that it is that's definitely a worrying thing to. Sorry,
Okay, in the meantime, while at least you could get your stuff organized, we could move on to diversity and inclusion. Crystal, I know you're the proxy for Peter, so you could go ahead.
Yeah, so I think what he was mainly going to talk about was compiling a peaceful assembly policies. And I think that was just mainly like gathering information and try to distribute it to organizations so that they can be aware of those policies. And then he mentioned that there's a DEI meeting on Thursday, so that students can let him know about student life concerns. And then I know he's trying to create a student conduct board, like a similar to the student honor committee. And he's planning to meet with Dean Mo to find committee members for that.
Is there any questions? Okay. Moving on to community relations. Communications and press.
Hi. So the Instagram gifts are done. Thank you, College Relations. We're working on doing a move out checklist and remote student success blogs. So if you are going to be remote and you kind of have some tips that you want to share with other students who maybe have never experienced online learning, reach out, let me know. We'd love to feature you on our Instagram page. And then we're working on t-shirt designs. If you guys want short sleeve or long sleeve, I need to know that. So I'll send out like some type of little poll here shortly, just kind of asking if you want short sleeves or long sleeves. And then presidents and vice presidents should all have edit access to any documents in the ASG resources folder. If you do not, I need to know. So just let me know. And then just a reminder that official members of ASG, anyone who is sworn in, whether it be cabinet or Senate, must have their cameras on during General Assembly. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Is there any questions for Bree or comments? Kristen?
Just something real quick. I don't have edit access to the agenda for each meeting.
Okay, thank you. I will double check and make sure that that's fixed. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to sustainability and environmental affairs.
Howdy. The Sustainability Committee this Friday will be meeting with Stephanie Lang and Kelly Bolton. Stephanie is the Director of Dining Services here. We're going to hopefully finalize some of the proposals for the green box this spring. That's something that we're also going to be working on throughout the winter break, trying to get that in service for the spring. I think Noah brought this up a couple of weeks back, either at a cabinet meeting or here, about like, returning tokens and stuff. And we're going to be was it Noah?
Yeah, but I'm not getting my coins in, so.
Oh, well, we're going to be hosting in the spring. We're going to be hosting like a token return day and a green box return day, just for anyone that wasn't able to return it during the quarantine in March. I think during my first semester here, I kept my green box over the winter break because I wanted a reusable container at home. So we're going to have like prizes and stuff through Kelly's office and just little things to kind of help boost people from returning their stuff. And you will not get penalized if you have more than one token or more than one green box. So if you can all breathe a sigh of relief. And the final thing on here is that I've officially launched the Sustainability Sunday series through the social media accounts. Thank you, Bree. That is something that my office is going to do to highlight sustainability on campus as well as helpful tips. The first issue was reduce, reuse, recycle. Next week is going to be kind of like, just some helpful tips with move out and stuff, because it'll be the last version of on campus one, which is kind of surprising that we're like basically moving out in like 2 weeks. But yeah, that's all. Have a sustainable day.
Is there any questions for Willie? Okay, Elias, did you have a report to give?
Yeah, so I just wanted to briefly like kind of touch on what happened yesterday. If you guys don't know, there were several student reports of a truck going around and the people in the truck pointing guns at students. I think that as community relations director, this presents a really specific set of kind of challenges, because ultimately my goal is to get our campus community and the Meadville community more close and to develop more sustainable relationships between us. But I think that really what we can do is just try to make sure that we convey to the campus that Meadville is still a safe place to go. The businesses are still welcoming, and that we still have a lot of really great resources in the Meadville community that we should still be using. I think that when we get back, it'll be important to tell people that, and I'm gonna definitely have some plans on getting that message out when we return.
Okay, I definitely agree with that 100%. But is there any questions for Elias? Kristen?
Yes, just a real quick one. So from the email the campus safety sent to us today, most students were like, oh, that social media post that was circulating around the school was fake. And they don't really know, because the real dangers. Are we allowed to tell people, hey, keep an eye out, still be safe? We aren't safe yet, or what are we allowed to talk about?
I can't tell you like what to say in your personal life when talking to people about Meadville. I know that I always, yeah, and I know that I always tell people that about most of the things that happen in Meadville, like that I'm involved in, are pretty good. So usually safety doesn't really come up, but definitely if you feel as though you should do that.
Lucas, did you have a comment?
Yeah, real quick. Let's actually stray from not saying anything about it, because the college launched an investigation and they're going to make an official statement when they decide what they find, like their findings. We don't want to be spreading construed information. So yeah, if anyone asks you, just say the college is doing an investigation. You'll hear something from them.
That is true. Okay. Noah, you did say you forgot something, can you keep it in like 30-second range minutes?
Yes, and I just need them to. I just need Senate to vote on it. We do have one finance request, and we have feminine product dispensers all around their school, and me and Jenna have been in cohorts on getting some products for at least the rest of this year, and getting started on next year, and making sure that we just have an abundance of supplies. So she put in the finance request from the surplus budget for $615 for feminine products for the dispensers. So I just need a motion and the Senate to vote on it.
Motion to approve the finance request from Jenna Penna for $615 for feminine product dispenser materials.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Okay, so now we could transition to class reports, class of 2021.
I don't really have anything to report other than my Senate candidates are going to be swearing in. So that is it.
Class of 2022.
So right now we're working on organizing meetings with all the other senators and representatives from our class. And that's pretty much all we've got going. Once we get to meeting, then we're able to decide what our project will be and what we want to make our initiatives. I also have a question. So I know we have to fulfill our hours requirement, but how would that work considering circumstances right now? We're almost to the end of our on-campus segment of the semester and have about a week. So are we still required to get those hours completed? Like, how does that work?
So we have been discussing that, and what it seems like we're leaning towards is at least not having any required for this semester, but we have to look into the Constitution and see whether that's valid. So we're planning to meet with Matt later on this week, but we're hoping to have a more for sure answer for you guys soon about the community service hours. But it's not going to be the 5 because we know that it is very short, last minute, and everyone else has other priorities as well. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And that's the end of our report.
Got you. Okay, class of 2023.
Hi guys. So this week we're just bringing up our weekly meetings. It's Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Our IG account, we're revamping another Instagram account that Curie had from actually when we were all committing to college. There's this account like you could like meet each other or whatever. I don't know. I forget what it is, but because the old Instagram from last year I deleted. I don't know why I did, but regardless, that's going to be put up. The handle is Allegheny 2023. We're going to revamp it this week, and that's where our Zoom meeting links will be at, and that's what I have.
Jasmine?
I just have a quick question. Since you guys are doing the Instagram, did you have to like get an email specifically for your class, or can you do any email in order to?
I've just used random emails. It doesn't really matter, honestly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, class of 2024.
There's nothing really major to update on. I would say each of our ideas that we've been working on have been sort of pushed back, whether pushed back to second semester, whether because they won't respond or meetings have been postponed, that sort of thing. So I would say no updates on any of our end except India. She's meeting with the clinic club and seeing what ASG can do to make their voices amplified. I would say that's one of the biggest things that hasn't really been pushed back, but still has been pushed back.
Any questions for class of 2024? No? Okay, so transitioning into VP report. I don't have too much. The only major thing is Abdi, Peter, and I got invited to a diversity and inclusion and equity meeting. We got invited by Dean Dukes. That will be happening this Thursday. I did ask if others can come. She said it was a close meeting, so unfortunately no. But either way, of course, we'll give you guys updates as to what was discussed in the meeting. She does want us to participate for at least an hour, so I believe it is going to be a very long meeting. But other than that, I also wanted to stress of the emails we've been getting concerning the COVID cases. I just want to let you guys know to please be safe. We are only 2 weeks away from going home. So if anything, you should be in your dorm studying for finals or preparing for finals, not out with your friends, but you know, to each his own. But yeah, yes, be safe going home too. That's what Emma said. Is there any questions for me? If not, Abdi, you can take it away.
Thank you, Patty. We're meeting with President Henry Link and the Secretary Pam Hyam this Friday, 1 in Tempe. Last time we kind of discussed on the improvement that we could do within student leadership here on this campus through clubs and organization. Talks about hiring more staff to help with multicultural awareness and just getting students into that role of activism, like teaching them what to do and everything else. Moving forward with this meeting, there's a lot of stuff that I plan to bring up with her, especially about international students and their storage situation, which will be talked about later. But if anyone has any things that they feel like is important, please email me or Patty so we can know, or hit me up after this meeting. Along with that, me and Patty are also planning to attend the Silk meeting. For those who don't know what Silk is, it's like where all the multicultural clubs are kind of like in that organization. It's kind of like the umbrella of all the multicultural clubs. And they'll be meeting this Friday also after our president's meeting, so at 3 o'clock. And we plan to kind of improve our relationship with the multicultural clubs on campus and seeing what AHG can do, and hoping to see collaborations and partnerships in the future. Does anyone have any questions, comments on that? Okay, moving forward. I've been in talks with Peter and Crystal. I had a, thank you, Patty. I had a further talk with Crystal today about diversity and inclusion development, and I plan to attend their meeting this Sunday. I believe to kind of see what initiatives and programs that we can have for the diversity and inclusion committee. I had a lot of plans of my own, and talking with Crystal, we'll have more of that information once it's documented, and have more updates after the meeting. And one last thing that I wanted to add on my report was that President Hillary Link, so big report, President Hillary Link is planning to attend the next GA as a guest speaker. So hopefully looking forward to get a lot of constituent comments, more viewers. And I know this will be, you do want a lot of people here to voice their concerns, also, have that interaction with the president directly. So please share information about the next GA. I'll be grateful. That is all I have for my report, leaving space for questions, comments, and concerns. And also anything that you want, senators, committees, please let me know before Thursday to talk about with Hillary Link.
Okay, no questions. Okay, so moving on to unfinished business. The only thing we have is the bonfire pits we were discussing 2 weeks ago. I am gonna open up the floor again for 5 minutes. But yes, senators, you could go ahead. Lucas?
Yeah, so thinking more about these fire pits, honestly, it's way too late in the semester. It's way too late in the semester for us to really do anything. We're here for about another week and a half. So I'm going to say let's table this till next week because I know we have a bunch of other stuff to go through. And then I can come back with actually like a solid plan and maybe some numbers. Me and Noah can put our heads together, come up with some numbers from the Student Action Fund that we can set aside for the fire pits, if that sounds good with everyone. If we want to put a motion for that, Addie. So motion to table bonfire pits till next week.
Second.
Second.
Sorry, my audio. Was there a second? I didn't hear. Did someone second the motion?
Yeah, I second the motion.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Noah, did you have a comment? Okay. Moving on to new business, there is a swearing of new senators for the class of 2021. Their bios are found on the agenda if you guys would like to look that over.
While everyone's reading, I'm going to bring up the motion to approve all three members of the 2021 Senate, Nicholas Warrenchuk, Grace Ioli, and George Ackerman as a slate to be confirmed to Senate.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Emma, you have a question? They were sworn in 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Okay.
The new senators ready to be sworn in. You will just have to repeat after me. With that being said, this is a short version of the swearing. Sorry for the last senators for that lengthy one. But you would just repeat after me. I state your name.
Say I, Grace, right now.
Yeah, all of you guys like I state your name. So like I, yes, I, Grace.
Okay, I, Grace.
I, George Ackerman. All the new senators, thank you. Senator of your class.
Senator of 2021.
Senator of 2021.
Of the Allegheny Student Government.
Of the
Allegheny Student Government.
Do swear to uphold the Constitution.
Do swear
to uphold the Constitution.
Of ASG.
Of
ASG.
I state your name.
I, Grace.
I, George.
Shall strive to maintain the quality of.
Shall
strive to maintain the quality of.
And wherever feasible wherever feasible improve.
Wherever feasible.
And wherever feasible.
Upon the educational.
Upon the educational.
Upon the educational.
Cultural.
Cultural.
And social aspects.
And social aspects.
Of the Allegheny College community.
Of
the Allegheny College community.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you.
Yes, finally, 2021 representation. All right, so Robert's rules, Jenna/Noah.
Hey guys, so I'm just gonna go into a little bit about what Robert's Rules is because for our new senators and especially people who are new to any sort of governing body, these are very foreign. So the Roberts Rules is this 815-page, incredibly boring book that I've read in the last 2 weeks, and it was written by General Henry Roberts in 1876, and it's not riveting at all. I cannot stress how not riveting it is as boring as books come. But it's been edited and re-edited over 12 times, and it's the guide for order and the conduction of all official meetings. It's used in Congress, it's used in parliaments, it's used worldwide by every government. It's deemed the most efficient way to do meetings. Robert had to read it for poli-sci. Robert is quoted as this being maximum answers in the minimum amount of time. And it just kind of flows and makes the meetings flow at a faster rate so that we aren't all here until 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. So with that in mind, out of that 18 and 15 pages, Jenna and I have made a cheat sheet that just has everything that's relevant. It has what words to use and the actions that follow them. Like so today, like when we did the 2 motions, that's one of words that require action and words that don't require action. So I'll make sure that Jenna and I will make sure that gets out to everyone. And if you could read that and have it just in the back of your head and ready for GAs in the future, it will make things work a little bit faster. And I can let Jenna speak here more on the rules and Robert.
Yeah, so I don't know as much about Robert as Noah. I did not read that. But it's kind of like we feel as though it's our obligation as members of HG to like learn and know how to properly go through a meeting. Especially there's a lot of people that are new to HG, and it's important that you learn it, because once the upperclassmen leave, you have to teach the next class and the next class and so on and so on. So like Noah said, we need to have more efficient meetings, kind of just, work off of each other and know how to help and know the process. So we don't know when we're gonna, expect that you guys know what to do and how to do it. And of course, it's a learning process for everyone and we're here to help. But in the future, we're probably gonna have like some type of little like workshop for Robert and his rules. So if you guys have any questions or are more interested, you guys can reach out to Noah and I.
This is also imperative to learn in advance if you ever want to get a real job, if in like the corporate world or anything that's in the legal world. All top executives utilize Robert's Rules for efficient meetings, especially when they're having large annualized meetings. They use Robert's Rules, and those are just some things to. And it doesn't look bad on a resume if you said that you're comfortable with the way that Robert and his rules work.
Lucas, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it makes the meeting a lot smoother and quicker when we go through these rules. And it just makes a more professional feeling. I mean, like this isn't high school government anymore. This is college government. So, yeah.
It also gives the opportunity for like more people to participate, because obviously if you're comfortable with knowing what to do, knowing how to use the rules, you're gonna like speak up and participate. So I know that can definitely be like, oh, should I say this? Does this even sound right? But if you learn Robert's Rules, you'll know exactly what to say.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. International student storage issue, Noah and Lucas.
So this is my second of 3 new businesses, and I apologize for all the business, but this is something that I deem to be, out of all the things that we're discussing today, what I deem to be the most imperative for discussion. And I think this shows very much so. Thank you, Abby. So in the past, the school has provided storage for our international students so that during the summer, they don't have to ship all their belongings home, because for some of them, they're going over halfway across the world, which is an absolutely insane plane ride. I've never been out of the United States and I hate planes, so that is terrifying to me. So for this spring semester and this break that we're going to have here, this 3-month break, which is equivalent almost to that of of summer, the school is making everyone take their belongings home, and it's very unfortunate. And the school has refused to provide storage for those few months in which the students who are international won't be on campus, and even so, they most of them can't even go home because of the U.S. locks. So meanwhile, all the domestic students can just take their belongings home, and yet we have left our international family out to dry. And this not only violates 3 of the goals of the dean, but also, in my opinion, it violates the community guidelines. It violates a partnership that promotes student engagement and success. It doesn't foster a sense of belonging. And this is my favorite goal of the dean: increase opportunities to be citizens of a global community. And what are we saying to the global community if we aren't saying that we're going to protect you in an hour of need? So if the administration won't help the students, I believe that ASG must act forward, because if the administration isn't willing to defend the students, I believe it is our fundamental obligation to the students, domestic and international, that we provide storage and assistance when they're in need. So today I brought 2 testimonies, Savannah, and she has brought someone else as well. So I would like them to speak now on their personal experiences involving this injustice, in my opinion. So Savannah, if you would like to speak now on what we talked about during your budget hearing, that would be wonderful.
Hi, so I'm Savannah. I'm a senior here at Allegheny. Essentially, just to build off of what Noah has said, because he did explain it pretty well. Basically, to give you a personal example, I'm from Hong Kong. When school closed in March, I had to leave everything and bring 2 suitcases worth of stuff to Hong Kong for 5 months. All of my belongings remained here over the duration of that time. I was actually pretty fortunate because I was allowed to return home. The president of the International Club had to remain on campus until May, almost completely alone, and then had to stay in Mongolia for the entirety of this school year because it would be so difficult for him to get into the US and back home. So that's just giving you a little bit of perspective of like the struggles that the international community has faced. If we are able to get home, there's a high chance of us not being able to return. And if we can even get into the countries that we are from, we face at least 2-week government quarantines. So things have become very stressful on that front. And so we were hoping to alleviate some of the stress of our international students, since the International Education Office is no longer able to support us with storage. And so we were hoping to put this into our ASG budget request, and we recognize that is not a typical request. Obviously, it shouldn't be on the students to provide this type of support. It should be on the Allegheny administration to support its students. But essentially, the majority of international students do not have a driver's license. They can't drive themselves to the storage places, so that's the transportation issue. And then in addition to that, this is now twice a year that they have to pay for roughly $60 storage per month. So that's 6 months out of the year that they have to store their belongings. And so at the very least, since they're worrying about like physically where they're going to be, like we should at least alleviate the stress and with regards to their belongings, and know that their belongings are safe and that like they are not having to carry the financial burden. And so just because of this, I think that it is incredibly important, and I appreciate. And so anyway, basically what has been going on is we reached out to Dean Thompson and we said, this is the situation. We would really like your support. We got no response. So from there, we moved on to speaking with the campus, and they published a piece about our situation, and then we were given a response. But we were kind of written off. She told us to ask every single international students to fill out the success grant, and that is incredibly unrealistic and inefficient. So the success grant, like the majority of us don't qualify for it, and in addition, we wouldn't all be given the grant. I don't know if that makes sense. So we were hoping to just get 2 or 3 like larger units, split it together. There would be no liability on anyone, that type of thing. But through the success grant, it would be like we were all split up. Transportation wouldn't necessarily be like covered. It would take a long time to receive the funds. Like we were just kind of written off as a like, here, this is all you have as like your only option. So basically we're just looking for any type of support because right now international students have no idea what they're going to do with their belongings.
I'm just going to jump in here, Savannah, and I'm sorry if I cut you off. Just so everyone knows about the success grants were created, I believe, last spring, and they were made so that students who were impacted at all by the coronavirus could apply for funding to help alleviate the situation at hand. And that was it was decided this year. But I believe we have one other testimony. Is that correct, Savannah?
Yeah, so Suzanne is actually also a senator, and she was going to just kind of like talk off of what I've said because like we have all pretty much been in touch and I've been like kind of facilitating this. I mean, she can definitely say like what this personally would mean to her and just kind of like her situation. But again, like some of us do have places to stay in the US and we're like the lucky ones, whereas like a lot of other students are. So I'll just let Suzanne.
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback off of what Savannah has already talked about, just take like my group of friends that are probably like 6 closer friends, they don't live in the US and they all have to pay like $60 for like 3 months that they don't even have money for. Like they're not working, they're already like paying so much here, and they're so stressed out about this because, you know, they just want to go home like peacefully. So like just kind of like keeping that in mind, that like imagine if your friends are just like struggling with that and like you can't really do anything. So hopefully you guys like take that in mind, or like keep that in mind of what's going on with international students right now.
Jenna, I saw that you put an asterisk.
Yeah, I guess this question is for all 3 of you. What is the request, and like how many would it be, and Noah, can we afford it?
So essentially we are going to send a Google Doc out. So the International Education Office has offered to provide us with all the transportation. So at that point, what we would need to do is get a list of all of the students. So we would know if we need 2 or 3 storage units. And then the rough cost is about $600 based on like my personal experience from having to pay out of pocket, not last summer, but the summer before.
Sorry, $600 for how long? For the 3 months?
600 would be total. So that would be for 2 maximum size storage units for the 3-month period. But obviously if I'm like underestimating, that could potentially go, that's for everyone. And that the 600 could potentially go to $800 if there was a need for 3 storage units, but we're not thinking there is going to be that much in with regards to size. So we estimated it to $600 for everyone.
Bree?
Yeah, so I was the reporter covering the international storage concern that we had. So I've met with the president, Doc, and I've also met with Dean of Students and April Thompson. And I kind of detailed a lot of what was said in the campus article. If you haven't read it and would like that context, if you just go to the campus website, type in my name, Bree Gray, and you'll find the article. It'll give you everything that Dean Thompson said as kind of like a rebuttal to some of the concerns that we were having. But I think it's also imperative that we remember that as members of the Allegheny student government, you know, when we go home from break, we don't stop. Our international students are still our priority, even if we're not on campus. And I know that, you know, when we're going to break, and sometimes storage might seem as though it's, you know, not something that you have to worry about. But when you're a domestic student versus when you're an international student, that's something that you really are concerned about. Those are your belongings that you can't take home with you. And in some cases, you know, as Savannah said, they can't make it back home. So as much as we're willing to give them or as much as we're willing to work with them, I think that it's really important. So I ask that you at least put yourself in their place when making any type of consideration about this. How would you feel if you were being put out? Maybe you can't make it back to your country. Maybe you have no place to put your belongings. So just be thoughtful of it and be mindful that, you know, no matter where we are, maybe like a week from now, maybe we're going back home to our families, but that's not always the situation for everybody in our campus community. So just be thoughtful and be mindful and respectful. Thank you.
Point of order. I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute moderated discussion about the topic.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, that passes. Hmm? Okay. Before continuing on, Matt, you did put like 3 asterisks, so I want to give you at least a minute or so to talk.
Yeah, so there are some legal repercussions, and if you guys want to approve moving forward with this, that's fine, but we will have to clear quite a few hurdles because ASG is funded through the student activities fee. You cannot legally distribute money to specific students. It has to be activities that are open to all students. So that gets a bit tricky. Also, there's legal ramifications to aid packages if students are given more money. So there's a lot of logistical hurdles that we need to overcome, even if this was approved. So just please keep that in mind, that there are some things that legally we just can't do.
Initially, I don't know if I'm allowed to respond to you. I'm sorry. I don't know how this works. Initially, we were just asking April Thompson essentially like if we could have the blue courts or like anything. Like all we were asking for was like to sign like a no liability, like we recognize we're leaving our things here. We don't expect them, like we don't expect anyone to touch them. We don't expect like the kind of like no liability for the school. We just wanted a place to put them. They have tons of like classrooms, things like that. Like we just wanted a space where we could put all of our stuff. So like it wasn't even like initially we weren't asking for money at all. We were just asking for a place, and then no one would listen to us. So then that's why we were like, maybe somehow we could get some money through ASG, or this Allegheny student government could support us in any way. So we're open to any ideas. It was really just like any way possible we could support our international students. Like we're literally open to anything.
Lucas?
First of all, thank you, Natalie, for starting this. Thank you for like using Robert's rules. Beautiful. I am so proud. All right. Anyways, so what we talked about in finance was that maybe we personally as ASG, we can like, if it doesn't, if DNS students or the college doesn't want to pay for it, we can work something out to pay for it. But I think that what we need to do is make enough noise about it so then they actually give it, so they actually care about this whole topic. Like, cause I know like Matt, like I understand where Matt's coming in with all the legal ramifications and everything. Like it's going to take a while for us to actually get it done. But if we get enough like mud stirring up in the water and like we just start like slinging some mud, maybe not slinging some mud, but like starting to like get some stuff on there, I think that's what we need to do, because I'm not going to say, but yeah, that's what we need to do.
Emma?
Okay, so I have a number of questions. First of all, Savannah, thank you for coming here. I know that like on the outset, I seem like a really talkative, extroverted person, but if I don't have like a script or anything, talking in front of a whole bunch of people is really scary. So first of all, thank you for being here. I have a few questions. Unless this was already discussed, what was the reasoning behind the lack of assistance from faculty?
I don't entirely understand your question, sorry.
Yeah, so if they said, hi, thank you for your request, thanks, but no thanks, here's why we're saying no. What was the reasoning there?
So there was no, like just silence. And then after the campus article, we were just sent a link and we tried to follow up, like, is this each student? Is this us as a club? Like, could we have a little bit of context? That went silent. Then we sent a couple more emails. Then we also CC'd in Amanda Manji, and then she was like, yeah, each individual student, like they're not willing to open a conversation with us. So I don't know if that answers your question. There really hasn't been.
So following up, for finance, I think this is a very well-intended initiative, but my question is, if we're not going to use the Student Action Fund, do we have the money for that? Are we legally allowed to use something that isn't the Student Action Fund? And finally, given that the committee compared to others is kind of small, and given the time frame, do you feel like you can pull this off without feeling too pressured with other commitments that you have?
I'm just gonna jump in. So like Matt was already saying, like how like all the legal things, it's gonna take a while to get all that done. But if we really need to, we will do it. And I feel like Noah and I are more than like ready to use either the surplus fund or the Student Action Fund to get this done. We just need to figure out the loopholes to get through, because technically we are paying out directly to students if you really think about it. But like I said, we just need to talk to administration.
Okay, I have one final point. So I want to be optimistic, but given the state of the world, I don't think that this pandemic will be exactly all cleared up by the spring semester. So I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news or bad predictions, but I think we'll be in a similar position around April or May. So with that in mind, while we can look at a temporary solution now, I think it would be in our best interest to come up with a more permanent solution in spring. 1 minute warning. Okay, I will finish up here. I will say though that I will go on the record and say that the lack of response here is extremely disappointing. And making noise, I think, is a good idea, but not in the short term.
Yeah, definitely. We would love to have a long-term solution. This is actually something we've been trying to work on for the last 6 weeks. And until the campus article, like we've just been ignored. So it is amazing that all of you are being so helpful and generous. And just thank you so much for listening to us. And we would absolutely love to find a long-term way to support our international students.
Yeah, I'll have to get this clear with Abdi and Patty because we're meeting with President Link next week. But at this point, I think it's necessary that we invite the members of staff who gave us some radio silence to come in before ASG and talk about this with us.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but the timer did go off. Is there a motion to extend discussion?
Motion to
extend.
Is there a second?
Payne go.
Motion to extend the time for discussion.
For 5 minutes.
Okay, I was just gonna ask too. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. One second. Natalie, you had a comment, and then Jenna, you're after that.
Oh yeah, so I think this is a very important part. I want to point out 2 things. So Matt brought this up kind of that it can't just be subject to certain students. And I also know there's a lot of kids that are from not just far away around the world, but far away in the United States that will probably face the same difficulty. So that should be under our consideration. And I just want to point out that because of how immigration works, a lot of these students who are international cannot work in the United States, and therefore they probably don't have the funds to sustain storage for the winter break and the summer break. Because remember, normally we typically only have to pay for storage for the summer, but now we're adding a burden of the winter and the summer. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm yielding my time to Noah.
I was just going to say, for the short term, we have to look at solutions for now. We can definitely do long term. We have a full long break to figure that out, but that doesn't solve the injustice happening now. And governance is great because we get to live in the now and we get to look into the future. But right now, we have to deal with what's in front of our noses before we can look into the solutions, because we have a beautiful Senate, we have a beautiful cabinet. We can work together to find the long solution. But right now, we have to find the short term. And we have to think of the worst case scenario, because I hate to say it, 2020 is the year to give it to us. So I would like to see if someone would like to make the motion to form an ad hoc committee, which is like a temporary committee. It's in the Constitution, to work with Matt as well as myself to figure out, as well as with Dr. Link and whoever we need to work with an administration to ensure that our students, domestic and internationally, are cared for, and that the community guidelines that we all signed when we came here are fulfilled, not only on a small scale level, on the personal, but to make sure that the social and communal health of Allegheny College is what we signed up for. Because looking at it now, it's not what we signed up for. This injustice is not what we signed, not at all. And the fact that the administration is so key on selling this point, so much so that the dean said to increase opportunities to be citizens of a global society. That is what we have to take care of right now. And I think it's great that we can figure it out later, but let's work on it now.
Willie, did you have a comment still?
Kind of going back on those, who's muted or who's not muted. Someone's not muted. Going back onto what we were talking about with a long-term solution. I know there's talks of closing some of the academic buildings in the near future. I know Oddfellows is on the chopping block to be gone. Perhaps it's a possible opportunity that the administration can look into to maybe transform an old building into a storage opportunity. You kill two birds with one stone, where you can keep a historical building like the Oddfellows building and not have to worry about the costs and environmental ramifications of tearing it down, while you also can provide your international students a extremely, if not free, a very, very cost efficient solution to store their items. Lucas is about to jump out of his skin, so I will let Lucas, and then I saw Noah also frantically waving his arms before I started, so.
Before you guys start speaking, I wanted to let Emily speak, actually, and then you guys can continue.
I just had a question. So I know we were saying that like we can't allocate funds to individual students. So what if the funds were like allocated to the international club, like more in the short term?
That would violate the financial guidelines again, because it would be going to international club, but that would be utilized specifically to each individual. So it wouldn't be. So hold on, I have the guidelines literally right here. The guidelines require that there's non-discrimination, accessibility, awareness, admittance, direct purpose, required records, timing. Those are all things that would be violated here. The non-discrimination, since it would be specifically for international club, it would be discrimination because there is, of course, people who are coming from Washington State that could equally so use this this storage, but the intensity of the necessity is not as high with people who live domestically in the United States, while in comparison to people who live, such as the president of International Club in Mongolia and Savannah, who lives in Hong Kong, which are monstrous flights across the world.
Okay, guys, the 5-minute timer went off again. Senate, is there a motion to extend or table this discussion?
I motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay, that passes. And then Bree, I think you had a comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Noah's point from like 5-ish minutes ago, something about forming a temporary committee. So would that be open to other members of the cabinet and especially Senate? I think that the more hands on deck you have, the more likely it's going to be addressed and the better it's going to be amplified to our administration.
Abdi?
I was gonna say, dealing with our, budget meeting when we first heard of this monstrosity. Well, I know Theta Chi has off-campus housing, and I have the privilege of never having to take any stuff, like move it out. I could just leave it there since freshman year. And this year we have like only 10 people living in the house with 30 rooms and being off campus. I was gonna talk to my alumni president on, ways we could help out students, if not free, with a probably way reduced than any other storage system, and hopefully have rooms that international or students that may need it can rent out. I'll have more information on this and just to see if it's feasible, but I'm pretty sure we can make it happen. And yeah, and that's something I'm offering to all. So yeah.
On to Kyrie.
This is just a question I had. So like I know that Savannah mentioned earlier about like using the blue courts and like that was completely like refuted, I guess, or like refused. But what is the problem with using like buildings that are theoretically not being used during the breaks? Like I understand cleaning and that there are students that end up staying, but they're not all staying across like all of the dormitory halls or all of the academic buildings either. So in my mind, it just doesn't make sense. We have all this space. You could be storing them here, at least temporarily, but yeah, that's just a question I had.
And then Noah?
I just wanted to address the storage thing that Bennett and Savannah were bringing up in the little chat. That we can't do that because of the section 1, subsection 2 in the financial guidelines, which reads, accessibility. All Allegheny College students must be able to participate in the event, which means if we let it for International Club, someone who lives in Erie could have the same access to the storage as someone like Savannah who lives in Hong Kong. And that
yeah,
I
mean, like everyone's allowed to be an international club, but if we allow them to do that, instead of giving them $600 and having it just be for international students, we could give them, say, $800, and that would cover any other students that felt they needed to store their stuff there. And it would be for the club, not just for particular students in the club. And, I don't know. Like, I haven't read through the rules like you have, but yeah.
I'm going to yield my time to Matt here.
Okay, so 2 things. Clubs can't sign contracts without going through the finance office at the college. And we would not let a club sign a contract for a storage unit because they would need to have I have many words I could use, but let's just say a metric ton of insurance to ensure that the college wouldn't be sued because we were providing funding to a club and approved the contract. The only person who can sign contracts is the CFO of the college. That's the first problem with that. So back to the question about, hold on, Noah, one sec. So about using the blue courts or other spaces, I will speak as an administrator and say that there are many moving parts at the college and they don't all know what the other one is doing. So we need to get the right people together in the right room or the right email chain so that physical plant says these buildings aren't being utilized or renovated over the break. And ResLife says we're not having anybody in there. And there's a lot of moving parts, but I think that might be why people said no to the blue courts, because they were just thinking the request is the blue courts, those are being renovated, so I say no, instead of saying where on campus could students utilize that is not being renovated, that will still have, because this is the first year the college is shutting down entirely. Buildings will not have heat from December to January, which presents another issue with liability and damage. But if you know the right people to ask and ask the right questions, I think we can get some traction on finding a solution.
Just to add a little bit more credibility to what Matt said, this is out of the financial guidelines, section 2, subsection D, subsection of that 2 Students may not sign contracts with third-party agents. All approvals must go through the Student Life Suite or the organizational's advisor, then the Chief Financial Officer for final approval, Linda Wetzel. And trust me, that process takes way longer than it should, way longer. And you wouldn't have storage until next year, like 2022. So that's just something to keep in mind with the contracting part. And again, the insurance is certainly insane. It is absolutely insane.
Motion to extend discussion for 5 more minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, that passes. And then Lucas?
Hi, so yes, everyone keeps talking about giving everyone access to storage. That is completely, like, far from achievable. There is no way that the college is gonna front like almost at least $300,000 for storage. Number 2, Oddfellows is coming down because it costs too much to maintain. They're not going to keep the building open to keep maintaining it, and it's going to keep wasting money. That's the reason why it's coming down. So they're not going to keep this old building like up and running just because, like, just for storage. It's not feasible. You have to think like from, I know like this is like a really pressing issue and everything, but you have to think from like an economical and financial and administrator standpoint on these things, because you won't be able to like understand unless you put your mind in another view to look at this. But like if we apply more pressure on administration, bring more conversation about it, and I'm going to make the motion in a second to start the what do you call it? Ad hoc? What?
It's an ad hoc committee, and it'll be
yeah. So no, you're good, Noah. So I'm going to motion right now to start the ad hoc committee for finding storage for international students. Can I get a second on that motion, please?
I second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Yeah. Okay.
Now that
any
that's
abstentions? Sorry.
No, keep going, Pat.
Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Sorry, guys, my AirPod was acting up.
Now that that has passed, do we want to keep going with this conversation, or do we want to get a Google form going with who wants to be on the committee and then talk about it separately in a different meeting? It's up to you guys, but if someone wants to make a motion.
I motion to table.
I second that.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Okay, there is still 2 things on the new business. I don't know if you guys would want to go over those or maybe shift them to next week.
I motion to table all new business for next meeting.
Is there a second? No.
No. Can I just really quick just start the conversation about what I wrote on the agenda? Because I feel like it's a very pressing issue that we need to talk about like right now.
Okay, on campus coronavirus miscommunication, Lucas.
So
hold on, Lucas, just real quick. You need to vote if there wasn't a, was there a second for that motion?
No.
Okay, sorry, I got
Yeah,
distracted. Go
We're good. So real quick, I just wanted to bring attention. Obviously, everyone is aware of what's going on right now on campus, how we have a little outbreak going. And all I'm just asking is that if we want to start a little discussion here, and if anyone wants to voice their concerns, but I personally feel like administration is being a little like not as transparent with what's going on regarding the future of our next week and a half on campus and how this is being handled. I know like we can't really talk about everything because HIPAA and like, so you can't drop any names or anything like that related to like people who have or who are aware in certain areas. So just be careful with that. But I don't know if anyone wants to motion for a discussion for like 5 minutes. I just feel like we need to get our concerns to Abdi and Patty now so they can bring it up in their meeting. I think it's this week, but this is something I feel that a lot of people have been asking me about today, and I know that they've been asking other senators in my class, and just in general, people are just confused on what's going on. So if someone wants to make a motion.
Quick point of privilege. I hate to interrupt. If someone has concern for Abdi and Patty, just out of respect for time and respect for the issue, would it be okay if that person were to email their concerns to Abdi and Patty? So that way they have something to go off of during that meeting?
I mean, it's up to everyone here if they want to have a discussion or not. So if someone wants to have a discussion, motion now.
I motion for a 5-minute moderated discussion.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Timer is starting now.
Andy, you can start because you motioned.
Okay, thank you. So I had a constituent reach out and say that they got sent home with an hour's notice tonight because they were involved in, I don't want to give any information out, but they were involved in something that was approved by the school and had a list of rules of what they could and couldn't do. They wore masks, and someone that was there tested positive, but they were completely distanced. So she's really confused why they would get sent home when they followed all the rules.
Willie, do you want to hop in?
I would like to express my personal frustration at the lack of transparency on the Allegheny website. We used to have the big COVID-19 tab right as you click on the homepage. It is now no longer present, and like most cases with the Allegheny website, I had to comb for it in order to find it, and I discovered the amount of cases that we had. Yes, it did just get updated. I believe when the update started, it actually had the COVID tab on it, and then they took it down. To be completely honest, I feel like we should have the little hyperlink to get to the main COVID-19 webpage at the forefront of our homepage, thinking we're still skyrocketing in cases nationwide. I read in the email and on Twitter that we've already hit 1 million cases in the U.S. in this month alone. So this is not going away at any point, but that's my tea.
Noah.
You double back. I'm double checking my fact before I say the wrong thing.
Kyrie.
I just wanted to I guess raise concern about more so the state of COVID case, the lack of transparency, in the state of COVID cases, on campus. I guess there was the 2 workers and they sent out that email, and then not to name any names, there was news of other students on campus getting COVID or getting contact traced, all of that. And so I don't know. I'm just really concerned with the lack of transparency when it comes to more specifically Crawford County and not really knowing what's going on. I feel like the school should be having active communication, not just with the cases on campus, but also off campus and what that reality looks like in between both. But that's just me. But yeah.
Noah, are you ready, or do you want me to move to Bree?
I'm just gonna say it, and if anyone can tell me if I'm wrong, perhaps Matt can. But This was on the webpage in September on the FAQ section, and now it's gone, and that really grinds my gears. But as of September, the school was not using FDA-approved coronavirus tested. So take that where you need to take it. And if someone could correct me on this, you can go ahead, but I'm pretty sure it's just not there now, and that's why I can't find it. But they were using a brand of of testing that was not approved by the FDA, but was in testing with the FDA, which is kind of despicable, if you ask me, considering they got $845,617 under the CARES Act, simply not just because of tuition help, but also to help pay for the coronavirus testing. And considering at the end of the day, we're the ones paying for it to make sure that we're safe, they can at least try and use the ones that are FDA approved.
Bree?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to address what Noah just said. I was the reporter on that article covering what type of COVID tests they were using. So I don't know if it's changed since then, but I covered this a couple of weeks ago. I met with President Link, and to my knowledge, they used 2 separate tests. So when they first came, when you moved in, they used one of the top-rated COVID-19 tests. I guess it was the best that they could have. And then they did a switch. So when they started doing that systematic testing, they did a switch from, I don't want to get it wrong, I think it's the rapid antigen test is what they're using right now. And to my knowledge, and from what President Link had said, and you can also check this on the campus website if you want to see exactly what type of test it was, that the one that they were using is still effective. They never mentioned that it wasn't approved by the FDA. So to my knowledge, they're still effective tests. I don't want to say like your test is faulty and you all might possibly have COVID-19, but to my knowledge, and from what President Link said, they still should be effective. I can double back with her though and check on that because that's
sorry to interject, but the timer did go off.
Motion to extend a discussion by 10 minutes.
Actually, extend by 5 minutes, and then a second motion to table after our 5-minute discussion.
Can you repeat that, Natalie? Sorry, my audio cut off.
Okay, so motion to extend for 5 minutes, and then another motion after the vote.
I'll second the 5-minute discussion, not the 10.
All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Starting the timer now. And Bree, you can finish your thought.
Okay. So with that, I would double back. I'll send an email to President Link and ACHA just kind of checking on that. But to my knowledge, I don't want to say that they're using tests that, could give you a false response. Like that just doesn't sound right. So I'd like to double back on that and make sure before we say that officially. And then there's another option that we have. So we do have a website. And I think if it's really hard for us to find the COVID-19 stuff on the Allegheny website, we also have the opportunity to put it on our website as well. We would just take whatever updates they have and put it on ours, and we can put it right on the front page. If that's something that you guys are interested in, we can do that as well.
Lucas?
I don't know necessarily about us publishing data on our page because it's not approved by the ACHA. I don't know if that's allowed. We can always talk to Gabby Morrow and Becky Dawson. Doubling back on the FDA approval or not, I'm pretty sure the college would be using, I can't remember what they were talking about in my committees on the past week, but I'm pretty sure that they do use FDA approved tests. Bree, if you want to follow up with the ACHA, but I'm pretty sure if you distribute and test with a COVID-19 test, it has to be approved by the FDA in the first place, because that's just how medicine works. But yeah, I'm gonna stop there.
Noah?
I don't think that we should put the COVID numbers on our page because that is the responsibility of the administration. It is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to assist the community in growth and help the students in the manners that we can to promote the sense of community that we all signed up for. This is responsibility of the administration. I think this is once more testimony to the failure of leadership that we're seeing this semester. And I think we need to start holding them accountable, because the students hold us accountable, but it seems right now that the students' voice is not being heard and the administration is not being kept accountable. And that is the injustice I think that we're seeing all night tonight, all night. We saw it with the storage, we're seeing it now. And the next point I'm going to bring up is the employee furlough. And that was my next point, but I'm not going to bring it up today. I'm just going to bring it up next week. Those are 3 things that I think we're seeing just today in the last 2 weeks of the school failing to stand with the students, whether it's economic failure, leadership failure, COVID-19 failure. Ultimately, they're doing a poor job. And if any of us were at all performing on that same level, you know where any of us would be? Not in ASG. If I was at all holding the situation financially in the way that the administration is, I would be removed from ASG today. That's just my 2 cents, and you could take it where you need to take it. But I think that this discussion and all the discussions that we're having today involving the administration are just showcasing and highlighting the testimonies that we heard from today from Suzanne and Savannah, and that those were only 2 testimonies. There's so many more international students here. There's so many domestic students here that are facing a societal abuse from the leadership that we're seeing. So.
On to Natalie.
Yeah, so this discussion was great, but I feel like we need to talk about it more. So I'd like to make a motion to table it for next week.
Second.
All those in favor? Can you guys raise your hand up again? I need to count. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes.
Point of order real quick, Patty and Abdi, is your meeting this week or next week? And if it is, can you just bring that up that we talked about that to administration? If your meeting is this week and next week, just bring up that we discussed that.
Yeah, the meeting is this weekend, yeah. Of course, been taking notes.
Thanks, Patty.
About you guys. Okay, and then employee furlough, no, you said you're pushing that to next week. Is there any other new business?
I mean, if you guys want to talk about it now, I would love to talk about it. But if somebody wants to talk about it, I want someone else to make the motion to talk about it, because I don't just want to talk anymore tonight, because I've already talked a whole lot.
Let's motion to table it till next week, if you don't mind, Noah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. So is there any constituent comments? Okay. Advisor comments?
I'll keep it short and sweet because I've had like 90 ounces of water since this meeting started. I'm here all the time to talk to you guys. So when these issues arise, GA meetings would probably go a lot more smoothly if you'd talk to me about them beforehand, because I could tell you what's feasible, what's not, what's the best way to get the problem. I'm here to help all of you. I'm impartial. I'm here to help advance the mission of ASG. I'm not here as like the administration. I'll tell you when you need to make noise to get something done, and I'll tell you who to CC in an email so somebody's like, oh shit, they CC'd my boss, now I have to respond. I'm here to help. So let's make everything go more smoothly, and don't just talk to me once a week, because I can make things go a lot easier.
Okay, is there a motion to close?
I motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. See you guys next week.
Thank you guys.
Relax.